just so we, could meet and make sure we're on the same page with all of those three independent contractors and what they do respectively, and make sure they were in touch with each other. CenterPoint Energy, we have a new representative, Ms. Vaughn. Met with her and discussed electricity, especially along our James Muse Parkway project, that $1.4 million project. Last week, we had a pre-bid meeting right in this room, and there were a few different companies here, and former engineer, city engineer David Leindecker, and Nick Houston with project management. They're kind of orchestrating that project, making sure all the paperwork's done and putting out the required notices. And December 11th is the meeting to open the sealed bids that will take place here as well. And I believe that's also at 2 o'clock. We received one quote on some of the city streets, Marie Antoinette and Joan of Arc, and taking a look at maybe addressing that in stages. There's a lot of clearing that needs to be done, and then followed up by actually implementing, putting down asphalt, things like that over in that general area. As Councilman Wallace said, we've been working together to see what we could do with the zip code thing. I had another separate meeting with U.S. Congressman McCall over in his office in Katy as he opened up his new office, and they did some checking too. And I shared with Councilman Wallace at least what he shared, that December of next year is when the city will be eligible, unless something comes up sooner, with your contacts, Councilman Wallace.
We'll keep contact.
Yeah. We got an $80 million FlowCam expansion, and met with the contractors a couple of different times, working with Bureau Veritas, USW, and what have you, to stay on top of that expansion. And that's basically going to have them double in size, which means, as one of our top property taxpayers, the doubling of the taxes they pay will be huge. And again, a huge revenue influx to the city. The College of Business Dean and I met with the Small Business Development Corps, relatively new officer, about a year, Mr. Wright. And Mr. Wright was came and attended the pre-bid meeting as well. So continuing to do a lot of things with them. Had a meeting with the Dean, Dean Pam Obion, with the College of Engineering, and we're working on some additional things on top of where some of her engineers sit on our Board of Adjustments and hooked up with a couple of different projects. Now we're looking to basically do a little bit more on top of that. So that'll include what I want to share this evening. Councilman Rowland.
I had a question. Tracy, what's the contact person on? Tracy.
Miss Vaughn.
Tracy Vaughn.
I know it's Vaughn. I don't know about Tracy.
I thought you said the person was Tracy. Okay.
No.
Do you know, or I guess, do we know how many does CenterPoint pay a franchise? Do they pay franchise fees, CenterPoint and SBC?
They do.
Where is that located?
Well, they have one sector of the city, and,
Right.
and San Bernard has the other sector.
And where would we find that in our documents? The
Franchise fees.
County.
Franchise fees?
Mhm.
And it's broken out?
No, you see the total, but we can
call
give you
you.
detail.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 8, met with new Chief Lopez when he was down, and made him aware of a reserve officer, and that's something he'll be picking up on. But Officer Shavonda Jenkins has started, and he'll be meeting with her again when he comes into town next and what have you. So all her paperwork and things are being done, or were done over in the PVPD department. Yes.
Do we have, so we're going, I know we had one, we took off the reserve, we went back, we took it off, and now we're going back. Do we have some documentation procedures on how we're gonna hire reserve officers, as far as our we pick up their T-cloth, but what additional things, uniform, or we're not gonna do that? We usually had documents, and so Can you get us some information, since we're gonna pick back up this program, and I don't know if that's the new chief who will do that, but if you could just remind him that we wanna get an official, whatever our policy on reserve officers is gonna be.
Yeah, well, we never dropped the policy. I think you may have thought it was dropped, but Chief Solomon had it, Chief Johnson had it. So we never dropped the reserve policy. We just didn't have reserve officers anymore. Matter of fact, some of our full-time people were reserves under Chief Solomon, and the space became available. And they became hired as full-time officers. But yeah, we'll make sure, as Chief Lopez comes in, and again, he'll be picking up on all the reporting to council, sure. Keep you informed of all of his plans. Item 10, discuss and take action to approve resolution 1125-2019-005, authorizing and implementing a donation policy. Councilman Jones.
I would like for item number 10 to be taken off the agenda, and I'll send an email when.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved that item 10 be taken off agenda. Then Councilman Jones will follow up with the email, to set it when you're ready for it to come out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passed. Item 11 we took care of. Item 12, discuss and take action on abandoned streets, other issues, and other health and safety. And I think we have someone who wanted to speak on item 12, the abandoned apartment thing. Dr. Brown, did you want to
Yeah, I
continue?
wanted to talk on
No,
it.
you speak before. You go first.
Once again, this is my third time bringing it before city council about these apartments on Echo Street. I've gone out there and they're deplorable. I don't know if any of you have been over there to look at it. The way it's a health and safety hazard for human beings. Human beings shouldn't be living in the ones that we're talking about. I don't know who owns them, but whoever owns them, I want you to imagine yourself living there and what it would be like. There are holes in the back of the buildings that are so big, like I told you, I could fit through them. And I don't mean that figuratively, I mean it literally. And something has to be done. I've heard city council speak about unsafe living environments for Panther Hill apartments. You spend thousands of dollars wanting to shut down Panther Hill apartments, and the developer has taken everything that we have asked them to do as a city, everything that we have asked them to do as a community, everything we've asked them to do, me as a person working with them, everything we've asked them to do to make our city better, they've done. However, and I'm going to step out there as a citizen, private citizen of the city, and say when you have slum landlords collecting rent from people, most of them indigent people or poor people who can't do any better, and you're riding around in one of the most expensive Mercedes-Benz that they sell, and you're allowing people to live in houses like this, I don't know how you can live with yourself. I don't know how you can sleep at night. I really don't. I don't understand it. And I'm asking once again, this is the third time I'm coming to city council, something has to be done. Either people need to be evacuated from that environment, or you need to put pressure on whoever owns them. Like I told you last time, I don't know who owns them, but whoever owns them, you need to put pressure on them to fix it so that it could be livable for human beings. And I'm sure with holes like that, you have, I feel almost certain, you have rodent problems on the inside. You have, what do you call those other animals here we have in Prairie View?
Possums?
Yeah, that run in and out of the, yeah, and especially this time of year when it's getting cold, they go to find places that are warmer, so they go into people's houses. And when you have big old holes like this on the outside, you have snakes and all kind of things. It's just not, it's not safe. And I'm asking you once again, on behalf, you don't have 300 or 400 people living there, so you don't have a secure voting block. But even if it's 1 or 2 people, human beings living there, you should do something to make that a better living situation for them.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, I think that's why after you brought it up before, Councilman Jones asked this item to be put on agenda, so
I actually brought it up simultaneously, after talking to, some homeowners that live on Elwood Road and looking across the street. But in reading our ordinances, and reading other city ordinances, I will be getting, with our attorney to submit some ordinance changes, so that way there could be some stronger mandates, and hold people accountable, so that way, Ms. Herndon along with Officer White, more of a flow, when going out and looking at property.
Okay. And Councilman Wallace?
Yeah, so as our code enforcement officer, Officer White, has he been told to go out there and to document?
I actually met with Officer White out at that situation, maybe 6-7 weeks ago. And,
It's been 6 weeks ago,
6
but
weeks?
he said that they had to give them 10 days to comply. When I went back over there 10 days later, they hadn't complied. I went over there 5 days later, which would have been 2 weeks later, and they had pulled the wood thing up where the water was leaking. And I don't know if they stopped the water from leaking or whatever, but they covered it up with dirt. I don't know if the pipes are still leaking or whatever. But the holes are still in the back part of the apartments, the duplexes. In the back part, you still got giant holes.
Okay.
But he has, Officer White is aware of
Yeah,
it.
so White's been there and then documented the things.
He's been
I
over
can't
there
speak
too.
for
Jonathan
what
has been over there too.
Cause then once he writes the documentation, doesn't it go back, shouldn't it go back to Mayor Allen, right?
Mhm.
Like, you should be able to see it.
Now, you do a 10-day notice, and then after that, if it's not cured, you do a citation, it goes to municipal court.
Right, so what was,
Doesn't mean it becomes a
so I
threat.
guess, I asked if Officer White went there, saw it, was told about the issues, what happened once he went there?
Officer White told me, because I worried him about it several times. He said that they issued the citations, okay? He said you have to wait 10 days before,
Well,
they
that's
have
a
10
10-day
days.
notice, 10-day notice first,
Right.
then citation.
Then, yeah,
So
he
you get
said,
10-day
so I
notice,
went
right.
back 10 days later, and the situation was still like it was, and Officer White said that they had issued citations. And I went back again, and like I said, they had a piece of plywood covering up.
Mhm.
The plywood was moved,
We
and
got
dirt
you.
was down there, but I don't know if the problem with the water, the stagnant water sitting there, I don't know if that pipe had been fixed.
Yes,
But the
ma'am.
big holes in the back were.
Let us finish. Okay, you wanna speak to this?
Yes,
Come on up and tell us who you are.
I'm Charlie Richard, I'm the owner of Richard Apartments. And she said she didn't know who the owner was, but she know what kind of car I drive. I'm the one that's driving Mercedes. I think this is more, first of all, I talked to some people, the problem, the water leak is stopped. If you went over there, you would see the water was running off in the drain, and it is stopped, because it was right there on the corner, and it was running down in the drain. If you went there like you say you did, you will see that the water problem is stopped.
The last
Now-
time I said you
Hold on, hold
Now, I
on.
didn't
There's
see-
not an interaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never was notified about a hole in any wall.
Did you receive a 10-day notice, Mr. Richard?
No, I talked to my mom to make sure, but she hadn't mentioned anything about the notice.
Okay, so that
So
speaks
I'll,
to your question.
So, but she possibly could have, I just hadn't asked her about it. She hadn't mentioned it to me.
This, I have real quick.
Yeah.
Earlier, we talked about, when the mayor mentioned, council, I think we said, talking to council. Was this the property where council was being communicated with council or no?
Actually it was,
Well,
and we didn't receive anything that substantially showed who the owner was, so we were just told to keep going with whoever we
So,
showed.
and so it wasn't in relation to this issue at all?
No.
It had to do with a permit or something that the other person was trying to
Yeah,
get?
the
It
person
wasn't?
who's trying to steal the property from us, he's also trying to get a
Right, but
permit.
it's the same,
Right.
so this is the reason, when you said what you said, that's why I wanted to bring it up on this issue.
Okay.
There's a dispute between who owns the property. I think the city has been asked to do something, I'm not sure of what is what. My only question to make sure that who do we legally have to communicate with? If he's saying he's the owner, someone else is saying they're the owner, who do we have to communicate with when we send a 10-day notice? Or when we, in reference to the action that we take? Because we want to just make sure that we clearly are communicating with who we need to communicate with to make this action. So if there's some situation where there may be a legal matter and the judge may have 3 names on it, 2 names, 5 names, or 1 name. Is our legal right to communicate with the 10, the 5, the 4, the 2, or the 1?
So it's very specifically delineated in the amendments to the International Property Maintenance Code,
Okay.
which Officer White has a copy of. I don't know whether or not he's utilizing it correctly or not. I haven't been in contact with him about this, but I have it right here, and it says exactly how you determine who to notify and whether or not you notify one or more person depending on the circumstances. But it's all laid out in the code.
Just find out what's going on.
Okay.
And I just feel like I say, I think, this property has been owned by my family for 50 years, over 50 years. And all of a sudden, like I said, I'm not trying, any problem that we have at the Sheriff's Department, we'll definitely get it fixed. We're not trying to, slide anything under the rug or anything like that. But I just want to make sure the situation is not tied into the guy who's trying to take the property from him. I just want to make sure that all these, coming over saying, like I say, if there's a hole in the wall, I hadn't seen it. I'm not saying they couldn't, it's not, I hadn't seen the hole in the wall. You guys are welcome to come and walk on my property anytime you get ready. Actually, there are people been on my property who don't even work for the city. Just coming snooping around my apartments, taking pictures, this or that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. If you work for the city and you're authorized to do that, that's fine. We're not trying to, we plan on being here. My family's been here 50 plus years. We plan on being here another 50 plus years. And nobody's gonna come in here and run us out of town. Not some slick joker from out of town want to come in and try to steal land from an older lady. That's not gonna happen, And this guy come in and try to do it. And I'm just wondering, is all of this, which I'm sure the guy emailed the city and told the city all these different type of things. Oh, they got faulty wiring. They got faulty this, they got faulty that, okay? How would he know?
Well, Mr. Rashad, in deference, you heard our city attorney's position. Whoever we show on, I don't know, tax appraiser or whoever the owner of the record, that's who we're communicating with. You and anybody else, and you have, just like he did, certainly have a right to contact us. But keep in mind, we've been on Eccles before this happened. So this is not like
Right,
the initial
okay. That was never,
situation. I'm
did you
just
talk
saying.
anything about a hole in the wall?
Well, I know we had some water leak issues, whatever.
Okay, yeah, I had, and you know what, and the major problems with my water, let me say this, they have a guy that's
They
who,
who? Who's that? Oh, you
we
do?
have a guy, the city of Prairie View, the Sheriff's Department, has a guy who's camping out in his car on my property. When I called the officer to come out and move, and I said it to say this, because this guy is going around, he tore the sign off. I got the sign in my car where he tore the sign off the street. This guy cut all of my wires around the apartments, okay? He broke some water lines around the apartment. And
But with those being either civil and or criminal matters, I would ask you to get that information.
I told them, and they told me
So
they
we can't
couldn't,
deal with that here.
they couldn't do anything with the guy because nobody saw him do it. But they know everybody knows he did it. But nobody can, but a lot of my
So you
problems
filed a
are
police report on this issue?
oh, sure. Only not that, but 50 times.
Okay, well, if you can get
50
me a
times.
copy, I'll share it with council and we'll take a look at that. And
Okay, but like I said,
that's
about
what
the
we
other
need.
situation, if you came out, if someone came out someone from the city, if a city employee came out to my apartment and say, hey, you got this issue, you got that issue, and they relayed that to me, then I did everything in my power to fix that issue. I'm not calling me a slumlord and saying that but you don't know who I am now. You don't know my name, but you call me a slumlord, that's slander my name. Okay, I've been around this place 50 years. You slandered my name, I got a problem with that, okay? Then you're gonna say, oh, I don't know who he is, but he drives a high dollar car.
Hold on, let's
Really?
let's stick with.
Okay, let's make sure this thing is not perfect. That's all I wanna do.
You were not on agenda as a courtesy and knowing you own it.
Right.
But the last time I was out there, it was like 7 or 8 of us from the city.
I know
And there were
exactly.
things we turned over to Officer White that he may or may not have followed up with you on. But that's his job, not ours.
Right, well, he followed up
But-
on and he's been out there several times also.
Okay, well, we'll get with him and see
And
where
any
we are.
problem that he told me about, I had the problem correct. Now, I will say this, a hole in the wall, I was never informed of a hole in the wall. I'm on my property every day, 3-4 hours a day. If there's a hole in the wall, please show it to me, and I'll get it fixed.
We'll check.
But as a slumlord,
We'll check.
I invite you to come look at my apartment. Now, do I need a roof? Yeah, I do need a roof, okay? It's not leaking, but my roof is in bad shape, okay? Hurricane Harvey did a lot of damage to it, okay? But there's some other people in here who roof look worse than mine, and the same, they're the ones who doing the talking, okay? So, if we wanna start talking about people this or that or
Mr.
that,
Rashad, we're
Right.
done. We'll get with you.
come in my apartment and take a look. I invite you to mayor.
I've been.
I invite you, no, I invite you to come inside. You say people looking like, living like slumlord. Come inside and look.
You're not on agenda, it was a courtesy. We're done, we'll follow up
Well-
with you and Officer White on this issue of health and safety in the city.
Okay,
So
all right,
somebody
and
get back
I'm
with
gonna do everything in my power to make sure the city of Prairie View, who I was raised in, who lived in those apartments, okay? I lived in those apartments, okay? I take a special,
Mr.
special
Rashad,
interest.
we're done, I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you,
Let you
Mr. Fowler.
speak, thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
And-
I think, I don't want, not to belabor the point, I just remember we had this conversation at the last meeting, did we ever get clarity, on what needs to happen, or if you can talk with Mr. Rashad in reference to?
No, we did get clarity, we
So-
just go with whoever the documents with the appraisals show, when we look them up, we don't get into that civil.
Right, but there was a.
There's an
There was a
injunction on that
document, right,
also.
which is, I got it. There was a legal matter, and I just wanted to make sure that if there's a legal matter, an injunction that says they can't tear the building down, they can't do this, that we are community, that, do we have to be responsible for that? I just wanted
Okay,
that
so,
answer.
so the original set of documents, which was provided to us, was not enough, and it was communicated to both parties that we did not have enough documentation, and it's not our job to go out and seek these things out for their purposes.
So,
For whatever our purposes are, Officer White will look through the tax deeds and this and that for whatever those purposes are.
so that means that,
That's,
from our standpoint, and we don't need to come back up, we
Okay.
just
yeah,
need you to make sure that
we're
you talk
just
to the
not
attorney.
involved in
No,
we're not
the
involved.
issue
No, no,
between
no.
the parties.
He does not talk to our city attorney.
Well, I mean,
That's a
his,
civil matter, he has a lawyer.
right, we're not, we don't want, so we're not involved in the issue, and I guess they've talked to you and told you that whatever documentation you provided wasn't enough.
It went to your attorney, who I believe is Attorney
Well, I
Richardson.
don't, yeah, I just wanna make sure you
All right, I
got
just wanna
it.
make sure that it was,
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Uh-huh. Item 13, discuss and take action on letter of intent with
So,
Houston Galveston
I got a
Area
question.
Council. No, sir. No, sir, we're done. You can get with Councilman Rowland after. Discuss and take action on letter of intent with Houston Galveston Area Council with Livable Centers Program. Councilman Rowland.
City Citizens Council, you received the email. Again, I was just asking for approval to get a letter of intent. You see the timeframe and what we're doing. Livable City Centers Planning Study is an important part of the study. The city of Prairie View has been trying to get this, get in the rotation. The city of Waller and the city of Hempstead have both received livable cities grants within the last 10 years. And so the goal is for us to get our name in the process. This letter of intent does that, which then takes us to the application being turned in January 21st. From that, we go into a pool, which will then be notified for the 2021 cycle. So remember, we have 2020, and we're going into the 2021 budget cycle. So again, we are talking about long-term planning. The conversations around transportation, environmental studies, walkable quality of life, mixed-use development, modals, transportation. Again, so if you want any additional information, please see our city secretary. And if the council has any questions.
Councilman Jones.
I move that we approve the letter of intent with HGAC with Livable Centers Program.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded that council approve the letter of intent with Houston Galveston Area Council Livable Centers Program. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions? Council, can you assist us with this to?
I can, however, I would note that as of today, the link is closed and says that they're not accepting letters of intent. However, they will accept phone calls regarding why you may not have had it in on time. So if you can plant a seed with somebody there, that would be very
I
helpful.
have talked with Ms. Anita. So the letter of intent is really not actually due until the January 22nd actual packet, because we'll need a letter from State Representative Cecil Bell. This was because we need to put a point of contact, and, you know, fill out, you know, our city address and stuff like that, to just let them know that we wanna do it. And so, thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, if you'll get with and assist, that'd be
You bet.
great. Any other unreadiness?
Call for question.
All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it, Councilman Jones.
I move that we discuss, consider, and take action on putting out a proposal for a building official through TML, at the December 16th meeting. Also move to discuss, well, yeah, also, another item is to discuss, consider, and take action on putting out an RFP for city streets.
It's been properly moved and seconded, well, for compound motion, that's to go on the next agenda.
Is this the next agenda or the 16th?
16.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's four items. I got those items for 3 weeks.
So, do we need to break it out, or, I'm a second, but do we need to break the item out?
Things are, is it been
Attorney
seconded?
Griffin? I seconded it.
You seconded
But Attorney
it.
Griffin, does both of those items need to
I
be
didn't
broken
catch
out?
what the second item was. I got the
RFP
building
for
officials.
city- To put our RFP for city streets.
Oh, yeah, those are definitely two separate.
So,
Okay, so you got those items, Ms. Bynum? Okay.
I have
Any other
one,
discussion?
I have one item.
Hold on, we gotta carry this motion first. All in favor say aye. Ayes have it, Councilman Rowland.
I have an item that, that I would like to, add to the, next agenda. Is to discuss, consider, and take action on written reports from Trilogy Engineering, Building Inspector Vera Veritas, and USW. Review documents for compliance with attorneys on Panther Hill, campus, and campus ed departments, and the gates of Prairie View.
Say,
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that the item, I think it's the same one that's been,
Well, no, I read it different, there's difference, so.
okay. Make sure Ms. Bynum gets it.
Yeah, I'll send her a specific copy, but this is not the 30-day report where we've actually got findings. We want to get some compliance with the attorney because there were some recommendations and we want to move to the next part of that process. And so that's what this agenda item is for.
Okay. Councilman Randall, you had a question?
You said the next agenda, so are we talking about the 16th or we talking about the first meeting in January?
I would want to do this on the 16th.
Of course you would.
Yeah,
Now, we could have just kept the meeting
Okay.
canceled, we was gonna have a whole nother meeting.
No, because it's going to get into,
That's too close, though.
it's going to get into Christmas week. So yeah, if we can do this on the next, December 16th, next
Okay.
agenda
And
item.
did you get, and you'll make sure Ms. Bynum gets the
Yes.
wording that you want?
Do you have the report back from Bureau Veritas that you were waiting for? She was going through her list.
No, I don't. She has, well, no. That's part of what this is part of what
For-
this
for that,
meeting is
okay.
for, to get that. Now, Mr. Trilogy does have the report. Is it
Mr.
okay if we receive, not talk about it, but can we receive the document from him for us to have to look at for next meeting?
Or
Sure, he
pass
can
it
hand
out?
it out to you
pass it
after
out?
the meeting.
All right,
Okay.
so, and this is for the December 16th meeting.
oh, we made the motion.
I made the motion.
And now,
Oh, yeah, you say it again?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Motion passed.
oh, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Done.
Hey, please,